Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Not Just Politics podcast. Today is Friday, April 11th, and we are in the studio today with really the fact that we didn't do this a year ago.
I know, because we've been like
crazy.
talking about doing this for a while.
Yeah. Today in the studio we have our friends from UView, which is Point Park's student-run and operated television station. Today's guest, going from this side over, Addison Diehl is the station manager at UView. Ethan Rowinski is the programming director.
Yes.
And Jules Brock is assistant news director. Everybody, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having
Yeah,
us.
thank you very much. I'm excited.
I'm very
I am an
excited.
avid fan, so like,
Well, I appreciate
maybe not avid. Like I'll watch the episodes here and there, but
Yeah.
I am excited to finally be part of this.
tuning in. Is this your first podcast that you've done?
I guess it is.
Wow.
They haven't been on any other podcast.
Is this your first podcast?
This is not my first podcast.
Not your first podcast. And
No.
you've been on before.
Yes,
You were
yeah.
on for one of our Bridge USA discussions.
Yes.
Thank you for doing that. That was very
Yeah,
cool.
it was a good time.
Yeah, it was fun. We're just going to talk about UView today and student media, and I guess maybe some larger things happening in the media landscape. To start, could you guys just give our many fans, which does include the Paul brothers, Jeff Bezos, any
Yes.
famous person you've ever heard of, Donald
Musk?
Trump tunes into an episode or two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do.
He's on next episode.
Could you?
Yeah.
That's wow. How crazy! Should it just be me in the? I have debated many times just being both people and doing Trump in the thing and then putting me into the episode and like going back and forth with my.
I like this plan. I like this plan.
Maybe how funny would that be if I was like, do you think we could trick the algorithm for a moment into boosting it if I put Donald Trump in the description for the guest and then it would just
And
be
in the tags.
costume?
And I think in the actual thumbnail, it should be a real picture of Donald Trump too. And then people tune in. It's like this mockery of him. And like it's like the Rudy Giuliani where like the paint's melting on your face.
Please.
For the makeup like shitty. makeup
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, roasting. I kind of wanted to do that where like playfully I wanted to like roast all of the heads of the School of Comm as him.
Yeah.
And just go in there and start going crazy, but I had,
good.
I think
Yeah.
it's too late for that.
Yeah.
So for our viewers, could you guys just give them the sort of basic rundown of what you do on a day-to-day basis? It doesn't really matter who goes first, but just to give them an idea of what you
You want to
do.
start as
Yeah.
the manager.
Yeah, I am the one in charge. So UView, basically, it's our student TV program. We have 5 shows that we shoot every week. It's about 2 shows a day, and then we have 1 show that films every other week. And we also kind of do just basically all of the video needs for campus. We have a lot of clubs that'll reach out to us and be like, "Hey, can you film this for us?" We do a lot of freelancing work too. We've done collaborations with me and Jules have done stuff with the YWCA. We've done stuff with PXI, with
Yep.
the food bank, a bunch of stuff. So we kind of basically any video need at the campus or near the campus, we handle it.
And student government as well.
Oh, and student government,
Yes.
yes, yeah.
Taping the weekly sessions that they have, which I think is cool.
Yes, yeah.
So you're like the Michael Scott.
Basically, yeah. I'm actually.
Yeah.
I would like to say I hope I'm Michael Scott in later seasons rather than the first.
I would say
don't know.
your
I don't-
second
I was
season
gonna say,
Michael Scott
don't
is how
know
I would
who-
describe
I would
that.
say that
with
too.
that.
Second season, yeah.
Second season Michael Scott at UView.
Okay.
Ethan, what about you? What do you do?
So as programming director, my kind of job is pretty much working the YouTube channel most of the time, where I will, I upload all the videos, I make the thumbnails, anything else that people want to upload, it kind of has to go through me or our assistant programming director, Kate Montgomery, who's not here, kind of has to go through us to be like, okay, this can go on the YouTube channel. And then besides just programming director roles, I also produce a show. I produce Newsnight, as well as kind of unofficially just being like the head of tech among our crew, pretty much, where I'll just, if something's broken, someone will yell at me and then I'll go, I don't know. And then I call someone else to actually fix it. Usually what ends up happening.
And we'll get into all of the individual shows in a minute,
Yes,
but
yeah.
Jules, what does your day-to-day look like?
Yes, so I'm the assistant news director to Colleen Winder. Love her. And
Icon.
for real.
Yeah. Shout
And
out to everyone else at UV that could
Yes.
be here for
yeah.
this.
huge shout out. And, it depends on what is going on. We plan workshops so that we can get the underclassmen more involved, teach them on camera and behind the camera tips, and just kind of picking out what needs to be handled. We work closely with Addie, the station manager, just to kind of see what needs publicized, what needs handled, what do they need to learn. And then on top of that, me and Addie produced Daybreak along with Jake Flines, and so we put that show together, and then that's on top of doing some on-camera work as well.
Yes, yeah.
Have you guys ever seen Jake Plines not in a Steelers jersey?
I cannot say I have.
The black Carhartt jacket.
Oh yeah, that
That's
is true.
true.
He does.
And
he has a red one too. He has
Yeah.
a red wind.
Yes, the
there
red
was
windbreaker.
one time he did an interview like for some job, and I saw him wear like a polo shirt, I think.
Oh yeah, the
Wow.
brown polo.
Oh,
It
yes,
was brown.
yes.
Yep.
But
Did you
besides
really?
that, yeah, and
Yeah.
it was kind of magic. I probably have a photo of it somewhere on
Yeah, I
my
was
phone.
gonna say, it's very
honestly, 'cause that was
rare.
like,
Well,
this
he
is
has a
magical.
T-shirt of skeletons going at it, and he wears it over a gray hoodie. And he
Yes,
used to
yeah.
sit in front of me in class, so I distinctly remember
Oh.
just seeing that.
I think seeing
Iconic.
Jake Plines in a brown polo it's like seeing your teacher outside of class.
Literally,
Yes.
you don't know. It's like
Something-
fight or flight.
Yes.
You don't know what
Yes.
to do.
You're like,
I just freeze.
Yeah,
That's
not
yeah.
sure. We're not sure exactly what to do in that moment.
Like go up and touch his face and be like, "Are you real?
Yeah.
Like what is
Actually,
this?"
him-
Pinch yourself.
Because I've had a couple classes with him at this point, and I see him all over, and it's just always a Steelers jersey.
Yeah.
Yep.
Every
He's got
time.
his look.
He does, absolutely. It's also a very similar thing with Brett Powers. I only ever
Yes.
see Brett
Yeah.
Powers with the lunchbox
Yep.
and the white
Yep.
baseball cap. And
Yes.
it's
true.
one of those things where that's how I knew that everything was still kind of rocking and rolling, is when those two are like, you know what I mean? If they switch it up ever, that's how we know we have big
Yeah.
problems.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
true.
exactly.
That's very
Sign of
true.
recession.
Yeah, it's
Exactly.
recession indicator.
That's like the 2 quarters of negative GDP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the
Yes,
other. Put them together, we're in a recession.
Yep.
I agree about that. Okay, so let's go through all the individual shows. What shows do each of you individually work on?
Well, I'm at every show, so
Yes.
all of
I'm
them.
actually
You're
there.
all-
I actually just live in the studio. I actually
Yeah.
sleep in the P suite. But
Yeah.
me and Jules, we produce Daybreak, which is our morning like talk show, like think like Today Show, Good Morning America, that kind of vibe. And on that show, we do like local Point Park news. We do Daybreak Hotline, which is a
Yes.
segment that we came up with
Yes.
this semester. Jules has really taken the head on that, and she comes up with all of our game ideas and stuff. And we also have had a musical performance this year. We really wanted to have more because, you know, it's totally fun having a band on the show. Like,
Yeah.
so fun. But we were collaborating with Pioneer Records for a little bit with that to get like the Pioneer Star people on there. But you know, semester gets busy and everything, and
Yeah.
it's hard to coordinate a bunch of people's schedules like that.
It's been
but
tough to get people for this.
Yeah,
episode.
I'm
Everyone's just
sure.
so busy.
No, this whole
Yeah.
semester has like been so busy for some. Like I think it was because when we started, we had like one snow day off, and then like another one the day after.
Yeah.
and that's thrown off my entire semester.
Yeah,
Has-
literally.
Like, I feel like I never got like a foot on the ground to actually like, okay, time to start.
From those
so,
first 2 days.
Yes.
It threw off
Really?
my-
Yes.
It really
yeah,
did.
no, it was
Because
crazy.
in a blink of an eye, we're almost done, and I'm like, wait.
Wait, what?
Like,
happened?
how did this?
Yeah, and now
Yeah.
you're graduating.
And now you're
Yeah.
both
Right.
leaving,
Yeah.
and
I know,
me and Ethan
both
have
of
work.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, quickly,
forgot about
just for context, so Ethan, you're not graduating.
No,
this
we are
semester,
both
but-
juniors.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Guys,
Yeah.
okay, you two. Okay,
Yes.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were also in our class.
You're
I
just
don't,
that
know,
important.
I don't know. I don't know what class anybody's in.
No,
Thank
me
God it's
either.
not me.
Everybody's
Thank
like
God,
that.
I don't
If
know.
I'm friends with you, I just think you're the same age as
Yeah,
me.
pretty
Like that's
much.
literally
Yeah.
it. I'm
That's
just like,
fair.
oh wait. I like tell my friends, I'm like, oh, do you want to go get a drink? And they're like, I'm 20, and I'm like, wait, what?
Right.
You're telling me you're not 21?
Right. So Daybreak is talk morning show
Yes,
type
yes.
thing. News night is news. at
Yeah,
night.
News Night's very much, it's like modeled in a way similar to like NBC Nightly News, like a 2020 or with like George Stephanopoulos, stuff like that. It's very much our horror news show, roughly around 30 minutes of international, national, local news. That's like our tagline pretty much. Not as fun as Daybreak, but like in
think
like
it's fun. I love it.
It's fun in a
It's fun
different
in
way.
a different way because
love it.
Daybreak is like jovial, and you know they have bands on. We're very much like we're here to report the news. We're here to give you what you need, and I think like that culture of like we are giving you this hard news. I personally enjoy it. I think it's very fun.
I love it.
And yeah, they work on the show a lot. I report on Daybreak a good amount of times too.
Yeah. That's the good thing about UView is like we all have our shows, but we all do everything.
Yeah,
together.
like we're reporting on each other's shows. Like I work crew for shows, so like
Yeah.
Entertainment on Point, Sideline, Late Night Stews, things like that.
Yeah.
These are some of
Yeah.
the other shows that are on UV. We'll get to
Yeah.
that too.
Yeah. So Sideline is sports.
Yep.
yes.
There was another. Wasn't there another sports show?
There was, like,
our freshman year.
It was like a game like sports show, like where they would go to
Okay.
games and stuff and interview like players and things like that. It's something that Sideline's been trying to incorporate back into
Okay,
theirs.
cool.
Yeah.
But now that we're D2, there's like all the copyright laws and like, you know, we don't technically own the footage even though we film it because blah, 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 all that.
Yeah, there's a lot of rules with that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then entertainment on point is pop culture, celebrity news.
Yep.
Like
type
e-news, that kind of vibe.
Yes.
Yes.
Entertainment Tonight type.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's also cool because they'll do stuff where, you know, they'll obviously talk a lot and mostly about, you know, like national entertainment news of just like, what are the Kardashians doing? What's Ariana Grande up to?
Paul
Things like that.
brothers doing.
What are the Paul
Yep.
brothers
Yes,
are doing?
yes.
But they'll
Watching
do a
this
lot
show.
of like, yeah, exactly. That's all they do actually. When they're not recording their, is Impulsive still a thing? When they're not recording Impulsive, they're watching the Not Just Politics podcast.
Or boxing a retired
Or boxing.
40-year-old.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Literally that.
But they'll do like local pop culture stuff too. Like they've done movie premieres in the past. They've done concerts.
Local concerts.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they'll do
Playhouse
that kind of
stuff.
Yes.
Yep.
And then late night snooze.
And
Oh,
then-
late night
Yeah.
snooze.
Started by 3-time guest of the show, Kyle Archer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kyle Archer and Gavin
Holy-
Anderson.
Yes, and Gavin
yeah.
Anderson, yes, which we unfortunately never got him on. But
Yes.
Kyle Archer is the only guy, with the exception of one of our other friends, Kyle Archer is the only guy that's ever been on this show where I don't do any prep because it is meaningless.
Yeah.
Because
Kyle
he will throw it off the rails instantly.
Yes,
Yep.
very much. Like I think of him as almost like a demigod that's kind of above all of us. Like he'll just kind of
Yes.
manipulate reality to his will
Yeah.
Yup.
in a way that
He always comes out on top.
yes.
Yes.
And it
Somehow.
scares me. It scares me a little
Yeah.
bit.
I agree.
Yeah.
When he was in here last time, we were in this exact setup, and about, I don't know, maybe about like 40 minutes into the show, he just had Nico Harkin walk in and sit next. Didn't tell me he was going to do this. Just had Nico sit down and just start working on his laptop. And the whole time I was like, what the fuck? He didn't tell me this was going to happen, and we had no idea. Nico walked in, and at first I was going to be like, Nico, we're recording. And then I was like, oh, this is him.
This is a
him.
bit.
This is a bit.
It's
This
just
is
Yeah.
a bit.
I
Absolutely.
wonder if he's ever not in bit mode.
I know, literally.
Well,
like,
I don't think so.
yeah.
The second time we recorded on the roof of my apartment building, and
Yes, I remember
we-
that episode.
We met up with him before to go to the Shake Shack at the terminal, which was
Good place.
relatively new at the time.
Yeah.
And he showed up in a full tuxedo. Didn't tell us he was going to do that.
Well,
full
yes.
tuxedo. Didn't tell us. We walk into the lobby of Gavin was over. We were like getting ready, and we went down to the lobby, and he was in a full tuxedo. We were like, "What in the world?" So we went all the way. It was hot too. Like he really committed. And this was like 3 hours later that we're actually recording the show. We were like an hour in, and out of nowhere he pulls a recorder out of the suit jacket and just started playing a song. And he goes, "This has been digging into my rib cage for 3 hours." So this is
Just I hope to get that committed to a bit at one point in my
Or
life.
that confident.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
do
Yeah.
too, because it's pretty amazing how he'll just.
Just do it.
I don't
It's
know
impressive,
I don't know if
really.
I would have done that. I don't know if I
No.
would have committed. And he really, I had no. He didn't like make a face or anything. I had no idea the entire time.
I strive to
amazing.
have that level of creativity, at least an ounce
Yes.
of it.
Yeah.
because
Yeah, seriously.
I don't think of that kind of stuff
No.
in just mundane tasks. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
No.
hoping, like I didn't think to wear a tuxedo to this event or a dress.
He wore a full tuxedo. Because originally I was like, he was like, "How should I dress?" And I was like, "Oh, just whatever." I was like, just casual. Like, I think I remember having that conversation with him, and I was thinking like, yeah, he's just gonna like show up like he normally does. No, full tuxedo.
How much of this is a Kyle bit to the fact that he's invaded our conversation? Not at all about him. This is where
Yeah.
this is the demigod. This
Yeah,
is what
this
he's
is, he
playing.
planned it.
He's
He
playing.
knew.
It's a really good point. I wasn't even supposed to be talking about him, and here we are. Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's five shows. Snooze is the one that is like bi-weekly.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
the baby of
'Cause that's the
You. It's
skit-
the most recent one.
Yeah, that's like the skit comedy show.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which I unfortunately never had time to be a part of, even though I had a billion ideas.
Yeah.
Skits. Most of them were me as Donald Trump. That
Yeah.
was the majority.
And it
You
wouldn't
can
have been
always come back. Kyle
Yeah.
does.
Yeah, that's so true. Kyle is still around the studio. He's
well,
still
then
on
maybe
Snooze.
I can come back because I'll be here. I'll be here
Invade.
after graduation, so maybe I'll come
Certainly.
back and
Yeah.
do a
Yeah.
bit because I wanted to do like liberal Trump. That was what I wanted to do, where Trump just goes like super progressive out of nowhere. Like,
I wouldn't be surprised
180.
if that was in the headlines tomorrow. Like if he just completely 180
yeah,
and
it
was
might
like,
be
you know
in the
what?
headlines.
It might
that
be.
sometimes.
He
Sometimes
will, yeah.
just oddly progressive takes in these like moments of lucidity where it's like, wow, that was like oddly.
Yeah, and then it'll go like, actually, I hate gay people.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, well,
Actually-
we've gone back a few
Yeah.
steps.
All right.
But for a brief moment, he's like, that Little Mermaid movie was really good. That Little Mermaid, she was great. And it's like, what the heck is going on here? So
Like, you were praising Gretchen Whitmer a few days. Like, it's crazy. He's
If we start talking about Trump and all the things that he does, we'll be
No,
here
no,
for
yeah,
hours.
exactly.
here for hours.
Oh my
but,
god.
what has been your guys' favorite part of being a part of UView over the years? Like, what is the best part of it?
Addie, you
people.
just had to.
I was gonna say, yeah.
People.
That's literally it. It's the people. Like truly, like I've met all of my best friends, my closest friends. Like if I don't go to UView, like if I don't go to the studio at least once a day, I'm like having withdrawals.
Yes.
I'm
I
like,
know.
where are my
Yes.
friends? Like I need to
Yes.
see my people. I need to see Dale. Like I need to be in the studio.
Yeah.
It's such a warm, welcoming environment. Like we're all so close. We're all friends. Like we all hang out outside of UView. We spend hours in the studio past the show when we don't even need to be there anymore just because we're hanging out. And
It's an addiction. It's a
It
problem.
it
is.
really
We all
is. Like
have
we all
it.
need to go to
Really
rehab.
Like I'm fiending for it right now. I haven't been there yet today.
Literally.
So that's me with podcast. If I don't
Yeah.
podcast
Yeah.
once a week, it's a problem.
Something's wrong.
Yeah.
It's an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. It's like that's what was it? Tim Dillon made a really funny point. He was like, I live with my podcast. He was like, when you had a TV show, he was like, you would see like a camera crew every day.
Yeah.
But now it's just you and a camera in a room. And it's like your child. It's like your family.
See, like I almost feel like that way about like the whole set crew, like broadcasting,
Absolutely,
where
yeah.
it's like I want to say like I pretty much developed into a workaholic at this point,
Right. Yeah.
Where I will work on I work on my show, I'll work on this show, and I'll work. If someone says like, I know I'm already doing a million things. Hey, you want to work on this thing at the studio? Of course I do. I would love nothing more. Like, but I do like love to work in that space. I love that UView gives me the opportunity to work, and like they were saying, not just work, do whatever, work with these amazing people like Addie, Jules, Colleen, everyone else who can't be here. You know, like that is. I actually hate these people. I'm lying to them.
Actually, we're all mortal enemies. We just put on a really
Yeah,
good
yeah.
front.
It's all just a facade. It's all
Yeah,
just
pretty
Yeah.
much. Yeah.
I mean, that wouldn't be the most. If you said that was the reality, would that be the most surprising thing you've heard come out of student media at Point Park?
No, there's been a lot too many scandals, honestly. Which
literally.
I don't know.
Yes.
If I want to say them
No, we're not
publicly.
getting. We won't
Okay,
get it
yeah,
all
yeah.
in here, but it is funny.
We've all signed NDAs. We
I know.
can't disclose.
That was the one thing that I noticed, like immediately, was that whenever I got here, was that student media seemed very cliquey.
I think that's a big
Yes.
part of
But
it.
it doesn't seem like that is the case as much as it was whenever we got here. At least that's how it seems like to me.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely been like Addie's been a big part of that. And I know a few of us have been like really pushing outreach to a bunch of other people where
Yeah.
like we are like we were saying, we are like really close knit, hanging outside of the studio, hanging out and just living together pretty much. Like I live like with a bunch of other UView people currently, but anyone is welcome to be a part of that.
Yes.
There's no,
Yeah.
like, we really try hard to be like, there's no barrier of entry pretty much. UView is open to any student whatsoever.
Right.
Um,
you guys let
so
a
we-
podcaster come in. How
I
crazy
know
is
that was actually a mistake.
Yeah,
We weren't supposed to come in there. But like we have like dance major. We have a few dance majors who are
Right.
a part of our like weekly rotation of group. One of us
Yeah.
going to produce like Daybreak
Yes.
next year.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's really cool because that has, I think, always been the one thing is that just because both of those groups of people are so busy all
Yeah.
of the time that
Yeah.
there was never much overlap. But it
Yeah.
is cool
Right.
to see that there's a couple of regulars.
It is wonderful, and then they kind of get to dabble in something new, and they all have said it's refreshing from just like being in
Yeah.
one studio and then being in another studio. And I definitely noticed that people definitely are like, oh, that's like the broadcast crew, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
But we all love people
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
much.
for sure.
So when
Definitely.
somebody new comes, we're like, oh, we're so fast. We're fascinated.
We're sick. We're sick of each other. We need to have some fresh blood in
And
there
if, like,
sometimes.
If I get to be, if I'm the one who's like obsessive with like TV broadcasting, all that stuff, and I get to facilitate that type of environment where people like get to take a break and all that kind of thing, that's amazing. I love that I get to be lucky enough to facilitate that. And I'm sorry that I'm screaming into the mic. That's kind of my standard of how I exist.
Every time we
just
check
thinking that.
Ethan's mic, I'm like, all right,
it's
let me
pretty
slide that
much
down.
I was just thinking that.
Like it is like a running bit at UV that I kind of scream. It's a miracle that I haven't lost a voice, honestly. It's
No,
a miracle
if
that
Ethan is quiet, something's wrong with
Yeah.
the world.
Yeah.
I like
The
to
TriCaster is broken.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
The audio's not
exactly.
working.
Which that we need like a tariff on the TriCaster or something.
On-
Like,
yeah,
some sort of sanction on the TriCaster.
Yeah.
Because it really is like every time I see you, every time you guys put in like all of this work for a broadcast, the TriCaster just decides that it's gonna go out to lunch.
It just hates
go get a
us.
drink.
It really does not like
Yeah.
us. Like it wants us to cry. It wants us to feel pain. Like I don't know why, but
It hears what we say behind closed doors and uses it against
it does.
Yeah.
We have to
Well,
genuinely, we have to give sacrifices to it every morning just to make sure that the
Also
equipment
peace
runs. Yeah.
A freshman has to be like
Yeah,
kicked off
every
of
day.
the
Yeah.
like,
It is like my bad boyfriend though, where it's like as awful as it is, like I love that TriCaster song.
Yeah.
Like,
I can
for
change
our,
him.
Like,
It's
we'll get
okay.
into it. I
Yeah.
know, like for our election show, like Addie definitely knows I lived like on that
Oh, yeah.
TriCaster to like get it to do exactly what I needed it to do for our
Right.
show. Like that.
And it paid off. But
Yeah,
It,
paid off,
it
yeah.
really did.
Yeah. Let's talk. Let's get into that now.
Oh,
Oh,
boy.
yeah.
You guys got nominated for a Golden Quill.
Yes,
we did. Yay.
Congratulations on that. That's super awesome. I wish you well. I wish
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
on that. When by the way, that's my single favorite and most used Trump line on the show. As I wish
It's
them well.
classic.
It's so
Yeah.
classic. It's my favorite. Oh, no, so when did the prep for that show actually start?
So it actually started literally the end of the school year
I'm about to say like
before.
around this time last year.
Yeah, so it was
Right.
right about now when me, Ethan, and Kalyan, we kind of sat down and we were like, hey, we need to start thinking about this. We had kind of a goal of like what we wanted the show to look like. We knew what kind of shows we were looking at that we wanted to kind of replicate. And then we made like points to meet over the summer, and we kind of like divided the responsibilities up, and we found out like how many people we need to have on, how many anchors do we need to have, how many reporters we need to have, what events in Pittsburgh that have to do the election do we have to cover, and all this kind of stuff. And then once the semester like actually started, that's when like the practical like hands-in kind
We
of
have to
work.
do this now.
Yeah, it's like like
Yeah.
the summer was fun because we were like, oh, we could do this and this and this and this, and then the school year came around and was like, oh my
Reality.
god, we
Yeah.
have to
Now
do
the
this.
things that we set out to do. And I
Yeah.
mean, it was chaos. Like once we got into it the first semester, that was a insane 2 months.
We
just
were all
about.
losing our minds.
Yeah,
truly.
but
in a good way.
in a
but-
good way.
Yeah.
Like so I'm trying to think how there was no like exact definition of who did what. It was kind of like a fluid what we like me,
Yeah.
Kalyan, and Addie all like did as producers.
Mm-hmm.
I guess generally like Kalyan focused on like our graphics. Like we
Yeah.
had all original graphics for who won each state, custom lower thirds, all this different
We had,
stuff.
I think it was
so
over
good.
100 graphics.
Oh, they were
Yeah.
so good.
Ka-
She's
Kalyan
so
made.
talented.
we had to
Yeah.
like prep, we're in the crazy chance that Trump wins California or
Right.
Kamala wins Idaho.
Yeah.
Right.
We want to be prepared for something
Yeah.
like that because just
Right.
because it's crazy doesn't mean it can't happen. So
Exactly.
we made winners things for each state. We made like temporary, like for each state, it's like who's, how many votes, what's the percentage of each person.
Yeah, changing graphics that like would keep up with the electoral votes and
Yeah.
like
It was, and so that's what Kalyan kind of
So it might have
focused
been
on.
more than 100 graphics then, because
It's
it's
so- like 100
for each of the
Out-
states.
2 for each state, 1 for updates.
plus like lower thirds,
lower thirds.
OTS graphics, full screen graphics.
So nearing 200 custom
Yeah.
graphics that
Probably.
Kalyan kind of focused.
Yeah.
She spent so many nights in there. She did literally a fantastic
she did
job.
an
They were
amazing
incredible.
It was good.
She actually just gave like a national like a speech in Pittsburgh. It was like some national thing about making graphics for that kind of
Yes.
medium.
Yeah,
Like, it-
yeah.
I think she
so,
told
like-
me about that.
so
at
like
one point.
nationally recognized for that.
Yeah.
How
Yeah,
awesome
of
is that?
course. Yeah.
Addie, like I guess you can speak to what you did. I kind of focused on like the coercion of reporters. It's probably not the right
Yeah.
word, but basically like helping our reporters, our anchors, like what Jules did, kind of make sure their knowledge base was good for the actual show,
Right.
making sure here's weekly news updates, here's past points you should know about their history, to make sure when they're ad-libbing, which was one of our big focuses of the
Yeah.
show, make sure we had interactive fun ad-libs. making sure that they weren't just like talking out their ass, you know?
Yeah.
Making sure
Yeah.
they're actually,
Which is what I do every week.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can swear
Yeah.
on this, right? That's allowed.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, I just want to make sure. And then I also focused, like we were saying with the TriCaster, I focused a
Yeah.
lot on the tech side of that show.
Yeah.
Like we want to do cool different double boxes.
The bug. That was a
yeah.
big thing,
Yeah, like this is another bad boyfriend thing with the TriCaster. So if you ever watch like a broadcast, you know how like KDK in Pittsburgh, they have like a little marker in the bottom right corner to be like, oh, here's us branding. Kalyan kind of, that's another graphic she made. She
Yeah.
actually built that. That took so long for me to figure out how to put into our TriCaster system.
Yeah.
Just that right there.
Yes, just that because, again, you'll try to put it in and then the whole thing will crash.
Yeah.
And so basically the solution is to just keep trying to put it in until it feels like it.
Yeah.
And then it'll actually go in. So that's just one example of the tech kind of stuff
Yeah.
that I did. But that was my focus for the show. And Addie, you can kind of
Yeah,
talk
I
about
was-
what your focus. And I reported
Yeah.
for the election show
Yes,
too.
yeah. He was
That's
our
another-
map guy.
Yeah, we
our
did
Map
it.
guy.
Yeah.
My kind of job was more at the beginning. It was more focused on like the panels that we had. You were a lovely guest on both of our panels.
Yes, I
two
did
of
two
them.
panels.
And that was kind of my focus, was making sure we had like, diverse viewpoints, making sure we covered our grounds and that kind of stuff. And then my job, once it came closer to it, was the rundown and the structure of the show, because we had all this content, we had all these graphics, we had all this stuff, and I wanted to make sure that in the show everything made sense of where it was, and it was like
Yeah.
an actual well-rounded show with information. And also the fact that we were live streaming for, I think it was like 5.5 hours.
Yeah.
That's like our count. So our rundown was over 10 pages long, which is like UView shows on average are like a page and a half, maybe.
Yeah.
And so it was a 10-page long rundown full of content. So I had to make sure that the content was like evenly spaced and make sure that we had like the panels were pre-recorded. So making sure we have a panel every so often so that the reporters can go to the bathroom to get a drink, all that kind of stuff. So that was kind of my like show structure. That was kind
We
of
didn't
my
even using like
half of our content we didn't
which,
even use.
It's like
Yeah.
a double-edged sword where like you'd rather have too much content
Yeah,
planned
than not enough.
But then it's like I spent all that work putting that together, didn't even use it.
Yeah. Yeah, and Jules was our anchor for the
Yes.
show, and I have to give you kudos for that, because you were on that chair for so long. And
Yes.
it was so hot.
Crazy. And
I was
good.
and you
Thank
did good.
you.
I
Thank
was
you.
losing my mind in the control room, which is heavily AC'd, and I could not imagine sitting under those lights for that long.
Yeah, it was sweaty. I think that we each were on there for the first anchors were on there a little bit longer, but me and Robert were there for 2.5 hours,
Yeah.
I'd
Wow.
say.
Yeah.
Straight live everything. It was just live all right there. It was incredible. I loved every second of it, but it really did get hot and sweaty, and I remember the rundown went up to like the P block.
Yeah.
which
Usually
we
they're, like,
ended
D or E.
Yeah.
Right.
At
I think I actually got to AA, BB.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm pretty
At
sure.
Oh my
12:30 at night, we were just hitting the like L block, or no, the J block.
Yeah.
And that's whenever things looked grim in
Yes.
our words. And we were like, we're just going to stop.
Yeah.
And so the next day we rallied back for Newsnight to finish
Yeah.
the rest of the rundown with it being tweaked for how it ended
That
up
was-
being.
That was an interesting part of like for our whole election show like planning pretty much. Like a lot of other media organizations, like national, like NBC, ABC, they plan for 3-4 days of election coverage.
Yeah.
You know,
Because they told us it was
Yep.
going to be a long
think back
time.
to
Like
2020,
everybody was.
We didn't
yeah.
know Biden was president until like that Thursday or Friday.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
the exact day.
So we were prepared for a long
we were
week of
prepared
shows.
to go to like Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
3 a.m. election night. Trump walks out, accepts his
Yeah.
presidential thing. So literally, like,
Yeah.
So Newsnight that night, which I think it was you and Robert.
me
who
and Robert,
anchored that,
yes.
I reported on that show.
Yes.
Like we had to be like, oh shit. Now we have to like plan for all this to announce that he's the one who won, and then talk
Complete
about why
turnaround.
he won. So that was another like we were talking about the double-edged
Yeah.
sword earlier. You know, where we went from having all this extra days of shows planned. Oh, we can just do a normal show. Or not
Yeah.
normal show. We only had to do this one extra show.
Yeah. We ended up just canceling the rest of the shows that week because we were like, you know what?
We're tired.
We're tired. That was
tired.
That was a long
yeah. I don't
broadcast.
blame you at all.
We
Yeah.
were tired,
You guys could've
depressed.
You guys could have just brought me in for day 3. I could have just been behind.
Yeah,
the
we would have
Yeah.
just let you there.
Yes.
And we would have put you behind on the green screen, but nothing behind it. It would have just been like a black void.
Yeah, truly.
And you would have just like been there
Floating
for
in
like 5 hours.
space.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, because everybody that night of the election show fell sick. So
Yeah.
everybody left that week
I
with
bet.
mono, cold, flu.
It was the
Everybody
UV
was
play.
sick. It was
like
the plague.
truly.
Yeah.
So two of the anchors sat. 3 of the 4 anchors, the 4th being me. The three of them had fevers.
Yeah.
I had a sore throat, and then I had a fever like the next day.
Yeah.
They were all sick.
Yeah.
It's physically demanding.
Yeah.
To do that.
So everybody was like not only ill emotionally, but physically ill.
Yeah.
Literally.
So the next day was very grim, very dark. We
Yeah.
were sick.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh.
I make a lot of jokes, but that genuinely is the difference between doing this and doing what you guys do. is
Yes.
that
Yeah.
none of this is necessarily physical. And the 3-hour episode was fun, but like, it wasn't taxing.
Yeah,
Like, I
yeah.
might have been a little tired, but
Yeah.
you guys were live for 5.5 hours, with the
Yeah.
exception of, like you said, the pre-recorded.
Yeah, it was
Thank
just
you,
like
by the way,
those
for
are,
letting
like-
me do those. It was a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
thank you for
to be a
doing
part
that.
of
No,
it.
You're
yeah,
a great
seriously.
panel
They were
host,
awesome.
great panel participants.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
I think it was, and I think those were like 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it was a nice break every once in a
Yes.
while to be able, because like, you know, the anchors, like, they're on camera the whole time, and it's like they gotta go to the bathroom,
Yeah.
they gotta get a
Right.
snack, they
No,
gotta get a drink,
seriously.
like,
Yes.
it was a nice break.
I always feel like I got off like scot-free though on the actual election night though, because you know I did all this like producer prep beforehand, but then all I had to do was kind of like jump in and ad lib every couple of minutes.
Yep.
And then that's kind of really all I did the actual election. Like and like well like Addie was directing the entire time.
Yeah.
And then Jules was anchoring for those 2.5 hours straight. And then
Yeah.
the whole time before then you're listening to the actual show and keeping up with like all our other
Yeah.
sources for
Yeah.
like like what's actually happening
Right.
to
And
prep
it was
for
like
your 2 hours.
Yeah, and it was also kind of offering counseling to the freshmen because they were worried about doing it and they were very nervous about the outcome of the election.
Yeah.
So
No, right.
it was a lot of like deep breaths. We're gonna act like this isn't real for right now.
Yeah, like
was
it
the
just
big
that,
thing.
Do the
that was like the
broadcast.
mindset we all had to have, was like, this is not the real election, this is our show. This
Yeah,
is all
this
fake.
is just
you
the
know.
show.
We can't think about the election.
Yeah.
We don't have time to think
Yes.
about
Right,
it. You
you guys
know,
are- you guys are
we think about
Yeah.
our show, which is that a good mindset to have?
I say yes.
It seems like a
Maybe-
necessary
yeah,
mindset.
It kept the bias
It's kind
out of
of.
it.
Exactly. It's like more than like, is it good for the health of humanity? It's it's a necessity for producing a type of show
Yes.
like this.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because regardless of the outcome, you guys
We still have
were
a show to
reporting
produce.
on it.
Yeah,
you guys
exactly.
were
Yeah.
Yeah.
doing it.
Nobody really grasped the outcome of everything until we reconvened the next day.
Yeah, sure.
And
Yeah.
that's when we were like, oh, because as we were even just actively reading the reports of the states turning red and watching it happen live, we just read it and we walked out of there. We were like, oh, that was so cool. Like, we did
Yeah.
great, and didn't really realize
Sure.
what had just happened.
Yeah.
So the next day, we woke up and we were just like,
Yeah.
hey,
Like
everybody.
during the
How
show,
y'all
you might as
doing?
well replace Trump and Harris with X and Y. You know,
Yeah,
it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's extra hard because you have to talk about these people, their past, their comments, all this kind of
Yeah.
thing. So, you're getting all this information about, oh, I can't believe Harris said this or can't believe Trump said this, but you can't like internalize that fully.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you just had to like, they said this. What does this mean? Let's analyze it from this, this.
Yes, surface level.
Yeah, sort of like
exactly.
that.
Yeah.
Down
Yeah, top down. That's what I was
looking
looking
at
for.
it.
Yeah.
And so you were the map guy.
That was my
What-
second
what-
year in a row.
Yes.
What kind of prep goes into that? Because I imagine a lot of that is just slowly over time you're just paying attention to
That's the
stuff.
biggest thing is there was a lot of like analyzing maps and data, like poll data pretty much. I was able to do like almost to prepare for the presidential election. I was map guy for our county executive race the year before. I was able to help analyze some live results for Allegheny County. So that gave me some prep of like, how do you actually talk about this? Because, there's no script or anything. That's fully ad-libbed. What are these results coming in? And then on top of that, it's studying how other people do it too. Like Steve Kornacki is a big example. Everyone loves Kornacki, who's leaving MSNBC, only going to NBC now. So there's media landscape changes there.
Right, yeah. Flipping.
Yeah. But so studying how does he deliver information, and then just pretty much what I told a lot, like my co-map guy, Gavin Patron, not Anderson, Gavin Patron.
Too many Gavins.
Also worked as map guy
There's a
for
million
me.
Gavins at Point Park.
I didn't,
It's
Far
true.
too many.
like, we'll get rid of a few. But the big thing was like, if we just know the information, then the words will just come out of that themselves. You know, I told our anchors that too, where it's not even as important for you to like write scripts to just say the information. You just have to know the information. Then the words and what you'll actually say will come after that.
Yeah, we actually had Ethan sit down with us a couple months prior and just all the way up until the day of and even the day of and
Just talk.
sit down, quiz
Yeah.
us, talk, fake ad lib. He proposed fake situations that we had to ad lib about for a
that's
set
good.
amount of
Yeah.
time, and it was like ad lib boot camp.
Yeah, because you know, it's one of those things where, oh, you're saying blah 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 about Trump. Okay, well, there's also this context that you should know about, and here's how you would know about that information to actually learn more than just this specific situation, you know. And if you don't and you don't know it, how do you hold your head above the water so you don't look like an idiot live on air
Yes.
after your third, fourth hour of being live in front of a camera with, you know, I think we had like 80. Like at least the live stream count was like 60 to 80 people.
Wow,
and I
that's
know
awesome.
groups of those were like at the CMI had a watch party that included our thing, multiple eyes watching
Yes.
that same screen. So it
Yeah.
was probably close to like 100, 120 people.
Yeah, we were in here. We had like the set of like 4 screens
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
front wall. We had just various different coverage, and then in the side room over there, we had the UView broadcast.
Yeah.
we had probably like 40 people there.
No,
Oh,
exactly. Yeah. So it's like we had a lot of eyes view it, and even like stepping outside of just like the practice of getting people to watch. It also is practice for our careers in the future of like, how do we put together a program like this, a
Yeah.
production
Yeah.
like this? How do we look on camera without looking stupid for things, you know, like a reel, a resume, anything like that.
Yeah.
Does the Golden Quill have an actual award ceremony?
They
Like
do.
an
It's
actual
on May
thing?
28th at the Rivers
Okay.
Casino.
Yes.
We'll all be in attendance.
Of course, it's at the casino.
It's actually so fun. It was my first time in a casino last year when we went, and
I've
it's
never
like
been in the Rivers Casino.
it's
Yeah.
it's nice. To be so honest, I didn't know that casinos were literally like just slot machines and like cards. Like that's it. That's all that's
all
in there.
it
I
is.
don't know. I
Yeah.
thought maybe there was like other games that you played and then just for money, like Angry Birds. I don't know, like something like that. Like I don't know. I thought it was gonna be more fun,
The
but
worst part about it being at a casino, though, is that I am not 21 myself.
yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah,
yes,
you gotta be
I
escorted.
already have like our faculty or some faculty advisor,
Faculty and a
Robin,
security guard.
Yeah, like hold my hand like I'm a 2-year-old into
Oh,
the
that
casino because you know I'm 3 months
Yeah.
away from turning 21. Yeah,
That's
I
right.
Yeah,
Even though I'm taller than both of these people.
That's true.
because God
Okay.
forbid you try to go get a drink without an ID or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
God forbid you go hit up
Yeah.
a slot machine.
But
yeah.
I'll be there. I'll be
Yeah.
dressed to the night. I mean, I'll wear a sweater, a
Yeah.
nice Mr.
Right.
Rogers
It's
sweater.
a,
which
it's a
nobody should
really
wear.
cool experience also just because there's so many other media professionals that are
Yes.
there, and I was the only one that went last year out of the 3 of us, but I'm very excited for both of you to get the chance to go because I saw people from my internship that I had at WSA. I saw people from TAE. I saw people from KDKA. Like all the major news outlets, they have a
Exciting.
ton
Yeah.
of people there, and it's just
Really exciting.
a really good like networking opportunity
Yeah.
too because you get to see these people, and you're all here because you're all nominated for the same award. Like we're nominated for the student version,
Yeah.
sure, but like they're also nominated for a Golden Quill, and you can all
That's
talk
so
about it.
Yeah.
awesome.
So,
Just
I'm
the
so
aura of
excited.
journalism.
Yeah.
yeah, it's a very, very
Yes.
cool experience.
Well, I hope you guys win it because you guys got nominated for the
too.
2022 midterm show as well.
Or the
2023, yes.
the county executive race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then like even outside the election show, Colleen Winder and myself are
Yes.
both also individually nominated for Golden
Yeah, that's
Globe.
Yes,
awesome.
yeah.
And she's nominated for her actually a professional one, not even a student one. One of
Yeah.
her photos
A real
Yes.
one,
for
yeah.
internship is nominated. I think
amazing.
concerning
That's
like I forgot exactly what
I forget what the
photo
name
was.
of it is.
Yeah, she
but-
said it, and I can't
And
remember.
then
It's
I'm-
amazing though.
And then I'm nominated for news videography when I went to the Obama rally.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So,
awesome.
yeah. So
Yeah.
double the chance of winning. Let's,
so
let's
fingers
hope.
crossed.
But the election
So
show is the
awesome.
big thing, though. Like I really,
Yeah.
we put
So much work.
like our physical health.
Yeah,
Literally,
and our mental health.
yeah, exactly.
blood, sweat, tears, and other
very
fluids
literal
Literally.
sense.
into.
All of them.
Yeah.
And when you guys, what kind of prep did you guys do? Because you had freshmen,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. We had a lot
Like,
of freshmen reporters.
Operating that show. What kind of prep? Because like you said too, like you had to kind of tell them that like not to think about the results of
Yeah.
that too much. I imagine that's a tough thing to, because that's an easy thing to say, but
Yeah.
whenever you're
Yeah.
in the moment on the air, and like you said, I mean, that was even a thing that we even kind of knew early on in the night. Because
Yeah.
states were just going red.
I think I
Yeah.
made that point too when I was doing Map Guy. Like we kind of, I mean, they all give me shit for like saying like,
Yeah.
the weeks ahead. Like I thought.
Yeah,
Trump was gonna
I
win.
blame you.
Yeah.
And
we
so
had that
we were.
conversation.
And so they were like, they all blame me for.
Yeah, he
his
jinxed us.
second president.
Yeah.
I think like that was. Well, you kind of know from the controller perspective, but like from my perspective, I was reporting, so I was in like the actual studio working like with those reporters, those crew, and like just like keeping them in check. Not in check. That sounds like really rude, but
But-
like,
but
being like,
yeah.
hey, we have a show to produce.
Yeah, but that
just
is what
keep
you have
going.
to do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yes.
Just do your job, and that's all you
Yeah.
have to focus on right now. I think it's also like partly by example too, like because I know you like outside of the studio are very like outside of the reporting, like I'm trying to think the best way to phrase it. Like you like voice your like thoughts and feelings and opinion stuff.
Very much,
But when
yes.
you're actually doing the show, you were on it. You know, you like remove.
Yeah.
Like, you're like I have a job to do. So I think
Yes.
seeing like me, like Console, seeing all our other reporters.
Yeah.
And the further into the night you go, it's like simultaneously it gets easier.
Yes.
But then we get closer to the inevitable result that ended up happening.
Sure, sure.
So it's
Yeah.
like double-edged feelings, and just be like, just wait till we're over, then you can express your thoughts.
Yeah.
Even then, like you were saying, it took like a few hours till the next day
did.
to
Yeah.
really settle in.
It did, and then when me and Colleon had planned the workshops, we planned it mainly with the intent of these freshmen need to know how to run
Yes.
cameras, teleprompter. You know, they need to know the on-camera tips if they're reporting. They have to be as tuned as possible.
Yes.
And we really honed in, classified the workshops as mandatory, and it worked.
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
got a good.
the ones that needed to be there showed up, and they excelled.
They stepped up.
They
did
I mean,
so amazing.
we wouldn't
They
have-
did.
Really great job.
Yeah, we wouldn't have been able
Yeah.
to do the show without
All of our freshmen.
our freshmen.
Yeah.
And literally, we had so many people there.
Yes.
We
Like,
did.
had to, we
More
had-
crew than we even needed, which is
Yes.
the first time that's happened in UView ever, I think.
And like, thank God we did. Like, we were talking to our faculty advisor who was giving a presentation at the NAB,
Yeah.
which is like a big national broadcast thing. I think we had close to 35 plus people work on it in total.
Yeah.
Yeah.
35.
There was
Yeah.
enough for every
Wow.
crew position to have somebody to step in for.
And
that.
Exactly.
like switch out. Too.
Yeah.
That was a big
Wow,
part of
that's
it too.
awesome.
Yeah, we wanted to make sure like all our crew people had the chance to like step
Yes.
away if possible. But it was crazy because a lot of our crew members also did not take the break. Like Anthony Durzo,
Yep.
he
Nope.
was on
I
teleprompter
think he
for.
stepped away for 10 minutes, and then we were like,
And then
bring
we
him
put him
back.
back. Yeah,
because
but
Really?
he's
Five-
real good at
Whole thing.
teleprompter.
Yeah, he did 5.5 hours. Debbie, 5.5 hours on camera,
Yep.
which
Yeah.
I could not. Camera's probably one of my least favorite positions
Yes.
because it's just
Sure.
standing the whole time and you
She
like
did
can't
sit.
move.
Don't worry. She
Well,
did
yeah,
sit
I'm
on the
sure
floor
she did,
multiple
yeah.
We
times.
made sure that
But-
there was food,
Yeah,
Yes,
food,
yeah.
snacks,
Yeah.
That was a whole
rotations.
other like logistics part of the
Yes.
whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, we can't just do the show. We need like you planned breaks around people need to go piss.
Yes,
sometimes.
Right.
we have to
Yeah.
feed these
We have to
people
feed
and
them, get
hydrate
water
them.
You know,
Yeah,
we have to make sure
exactly.
the library knows we're going to be here for all of
Yeah,
these
make sure the
hours.
police
We're
don't like
borrowing,
come in and
like,
shut
yeah.
down the show.
Yeah, there's so many like little logistics things that like, you know, in the hours leading to it, like I don't think we had an intro till the morning of.
Literally, I think until
Is
like
when
the
I-
day before.
Is like when I made
Yeah.
the intro for that show.
yeah.
Sure.
Like, which is like an oversight, but it's one of those things where like, shit, we have to do this. And so you go ahead and you just
Yeah.
do it. You know, I
Yep.
mean,
Yeah.
it's everything is like you just keep going until you actually do your show. And then from like a pre-production standpoint, it's almost like, everything's prepped and now we just go. We just
Yeah.
go and do
Right.
the thing. And at that
Yeah.
point you're like, well, we're live. Let's just
Yeah.
keep going.
Yep.
And technical difficulties was also a thing that
Oh,
we
yeah.
had a lot of problems with during the election show. Immediately, like it
Even
was.
though we didn't notice.
I'm glad. I'm very glad for that because
I don't even just say that to say it. Like we did not really. We did.
for
not
me
really
it was
notice.
like the longest minute and 30 seconds of
When the
like
intro was
of
rolling.
no sound, no audio of my
Yeah.
life.
Oh,
Like
I'm
you know, you hear a minute or a minute 30. I don't know exactly how long it was, but it was around like a minute of.
I think it was like 45 seconds.
Yeah, and
like,
like you don't
yeah.
think that's a long time, but
No,
like
but it
when
feels
you're
like forever.
but when you're in broadcasting
Yeah.
and
It
feels
you
like
know there's supposed to be content happening, you think that's like hours.
Yep.
And
that happened to that happened to us so many times at esports. Like in the
Yeah.
80s, and it was just
Yep.
me and
Sure.
Brett Powers sitting in gamer chairs, shoutcasting Rocket League on a TV that was on the floor.
yep.
Because the studio wasn't like set up yet.
Yeah.
There were moments where it's like, oh, we didn't have audio for like 2 minutes, but it feels like 10 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah,
there.
exactly. No, it's insane. Like I remember when that intro went down, it was kind of I don't want to say on me, but I ended up being the one who's like, okay, we're gonna help fix this. Grace Lawrence was also a huge help for all that stuff. But like I remember. Well, I don't fully remember it happening. I was just
I kind of blacked out. To be so honest.
Brain's blocked that
according to other people, I look scary. Which like
it's true. It's very true.
Like, I'm loud and like aggressive, but I'm usually like, usually like people are like willing to come up to me and like talk or whatever.
Yeah.
I guess I was scary.
Addie too. They both stood up and just demon escaped from them.
Because like going on?
As
it
like
was so scary.
From like a producer standpoint, when you put so much effort into a show and like in the first 5 minutes too, might I add, like we just got started. At that point, I was like, let's just cancel this whole show. I'm done.
Keep
Throw it away.
Down.
Yeah. And I ended up calling the head of media services, Fred Angelieri, who I love him. He's a great guy.
King.
Who he was there the whole day before, being like, like helping us fix all the stuff.
Check all the equipment.
Keypro broke immediately, which was working before.
Which we tested it literally 5 minutes before we started the show. We tested it and it broke when we started.
The Keypro is like the child that kicks your airplane seat and then you turn around to tell it to stop and it's like,
yes, literally. Literally.
And so like I'm like texting, I call him and he's like, he basically helps us like guide us through fixing it. And then I basically pretty much go, okay, bye, and like hung up on him. And then like 20 minutes later, I like text him, be like, Fred, I am so sorry. Thank you so much. Like, and I think I even like called him like or saw him the next day. I was like, Fred, literally, I'm so sorry. He was like, don't worry about it. But I felt so bad.
And it's like especially like I always make fun of this because, of course, when this all was happening was the moment that Chris Rollinson decided to come in and take pictures of the control room to post on the Monday memo. So on the Monday memo, literally the next week, you can just see me screaming at people in the control room.
She was up, neck craned, and was
like my face is all red, and you can tell I'm like sweating, and I'm literally just like. And it's like, I was like, Chris,
it's the bit
please.
that I do of the inevitable end of my just me in a basement screaming, sweating into a microphone.
Literally. That was me. That was me.
But just to hear that you guys looked, because you guys are like the friendliest people, like not scary at all. To hear that you guys look scary is just so, like in hindsight, it's just so fun.
Well, I mean,
seeing it.
I think it was worth it.
Yeah.
Like,
so worth it.
Certainly.
Like, I mean, I think we have a great product that came out. And I mean, it's like in the moment, you're like, oh my God, this is awful. Everything is ruined. But then you go back and you watch it. And like I do, like I'm insane. Like I will rewatch it and I'll watch other election shows all the time. And I'm like, wow, we really did put together a really great product.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of it. Yeah.
So it was worth me almost strangling multiple. There was like some photographer for the school.
Yeah, there were so many people in the control room when this all was happening who I'd never seen.
Oh, see, that's crazy.
They just kind of showed up. They're like, hey, can you take photos? I think I literally, like, if
I'm
you're
pretty
a
sure-
photographer, I was like, hey, you can't go in there, but you can take photos. Okay, bye.
Yeah, no, and I
was
swear,
all, like, talking
I'm pretty
about
sure Kyle also brought in a group of students also
Like,
while this was
earlier
happening.
that day.
Yeah, and when we were doing prep work and stuff, and I was just like, these poor kids, they're seeing me lose my mind. I'm crying.
Yeah.
I'm like,
They
I
actually
love
went
Point
to a
Park.
school in
Please come to
China,
Point
just
Park.
get as far away from Point Park
Yeah.
as possible after that.
There was nothing more heinous than when a broadcast thing goes wrong. Like the creature that just births out of us.
Yeah.
And it really is just, that's why we're also so tight, is because we've seen the ugliest, most demonic versions of each other.
And like, if we can stick together through that.
we can do anything.
Like if we can just crane our heads and give that look, we're like, oh my God, we know. Like we say the worst things known to man. Like
We're very good at perceiving body language and spoken language when it's like, okay, they don't need this. I just need to go away for a little bit.
Yes. Literally.
I know they don't actually want me to die and that they hate me.
But for this moment, I need to leave.
This moment,
we need to go for a vape break real quick, and then everyone will be okay.
Because that is the one thing, and obviously we talk about it a lot because we're all in broadcasting, but that's the one thing that most people that are just consuming media don't really understand. Demons come out whenever things go wrong.
And you just live with it.
So
like that's just how it goes.
And you can't get rid of the demon.
No.
Then you have to sleep at night knowing you just talk to people like that.
Literally.
laughing, and I'm like, I can't believe I said that.
And then you're all Jules is the main problem with this. Where they'll go, do you actually hate me?
Yeah. I was directing the senior episode and I yelled at him, but in my head it sounded so much worse. And he like made a joke and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm the worst.
I keep
He's like,
repeating-
what?
Yeah, I keep repeating like you are. There is no. I'm getting mad that you keep apologizing for what. Like, oh my God! Like, but we live, we move forward,
Yeah.
and
Of
we
course.
slay.
Yeah.
We slay.
And what does the post production for the show look like? Because the Golden Quill doesn't accept a full version.
Oh.
No,
of
it has to be an
broadcast, right? It has
hour
to be an
or
hour, right?
less.
So
Yeah.
how long? Now, is that a situation where did you guys have some idea? Because you knew you were going to submit it for a Golden
Yes.
Quill.
Yes.
Did you guys have some idea of what was going to make the final cut and what didn't, or was that more of
Yeah.
a in the moment decision?
I will say so I had helped produce the election show for 2023 with Nick
Yeah.
Konopka, and I learned a lot from that because we did get nominated for a Golden Quill and we ended up losing it. And I kind of just like looked at that show and I was like, all right, I need to figure out what we did wrong with this show that we can fix for this one. And it wasn't anything like specific. Like it was kind of just some of our segments that were like really long. We should have cut them shorter because, you know, you don't want somebody to be the same camera shot sitting on screen for like 10 minutes. Like they're going to get
Yeah.
bored with that. So that was a lot of like what we focused on. We focused on like our most interesting content. We had a lot of packages for the election show. We
What a
had
good package.
good packages. We had like Ethan's Obama package. We had
Jonah Summers did a
Jonah Summers
Yes.
did
It was
one
really
at the
good.
voting polls. We had an international package from Hannah Bazet, which was really
That was
cool.
Yes.
too.
So we
She was in
had
Italy at the
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So we had like we basically just looked, and I also would like to say that this happened probably 2 months after the election show because I did not look at the election show for 2 months
There's
after.
trauma. There's trauma
I
involved.
was
You need time. Of
traumatized.
course.
I was like, I need time before I can look at this again. But
Yeah.
then me and Ethan, we like sat down and we were like, all right, let's take the best content out of this, like what we think is the, you know, gets the story across the best, and it is our, you know, putting our best foot forward.
Yeah, and it is a lot. There's a lot of tug and pull for like because you know if we don't have an hour of a 5-hour show, someone needs to be cut. You know,
Yeah.
someone needs to be
Of course,
removed. So
yeah.
there was a lot of like trying to balance, making sure as many people get their voice in
Yeah.
while still having like a great product. You
Yeah.
know, like Gavin, who was like my co-map guy pretty much. We like cut his solo map guy stuff.
Yeah.
But we kept when he interviewed Jill Stein for one of his packages.
Right, and
So-
that
was
was great
so
too.
cool.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
it's like that balancing game between reporters getting cut, but maybe having this in there, you're still there for a little bit, all this kind of, and on top of that, keeping the flow of the actual show.
Of
You don't
course.
just want to like randomly cut in the middle of like someone's report. You know, you want to keep like the timeline of events, making sure things are like actually given in a way that makes sense, even
Yeah.
in a condensed show that's a fit to the size of the actual thing.
So how long does that take?
Not as long. Honestly,
Yeah.
for a show like this, it was not as long.
No, I thought it was
thought.
going to be like a whole day long experience, but it ended up just being like maybe 2-3 hours we spent, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's not bad at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, because you know we're not like we can't add anything. We
Of
can't
course.
change.
Yeah.
So it's
Right.
just like
Of course.
chopping bits together and putting it into you know,
Yeah.
one distinct package. So it really wasn't that. I mean, that's one of the things I like about broadcast is like even if like something messes up, well, it was live. You can't do anything about it. Oh, well.
Yeah.
Right.
So because as much as I love editing, I'm not into post-production broadcast editing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like doing that. Truly.
Yeah, I'd rather just get it out. Done.
Yeah,
Right, you
exactly.
do it
Yeah.
live, and then you do all of the stuff then.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
This is why
Worry
I'm
about
not-
it then.
Worry
This is why I'm not a cinema production student. I could not.
No.
I couldn't do that. I don't have the patience for
Yeah,
it.
right. Just
Fair.
gathering all the individual shots and then
Yeah,
putting them together.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
an entirely different part of our world that
Yeah.
is so
Yeah.
different from the live aspect.
Yeah.
But I mean that does make sense. I mean the pre-production is where 90% of the time.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
And I think
Right,
the fact
for
that we
anything.
had such a long and involved pre-production in like not even just like the very like hard ways of like building the rundown
Yeah.
or you know like or like any other like very like direct method of pre-production to like the soft stuff that I did of like guiding our anchors to be like here's information you should know, which doesn't turn up in a very direct way. Like you wouldn't be able to like, oh, this person did this thing, you know. It's a lot of like soft buildup across every board to go into this one product. And I think the fact that we did so much pre-production of that nature too also aided us in creating a really fantastic product that
Yeah.
people enjoyed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. And I really do wish you guys the best. I hope you get that. I hope you get that golden quill.
We
Thank
will.
you.
We'll get
Fingers
the
crossed.
stub.
Because then
Yeah.
I can say that I'm a golden quill winning podcast.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, I mean, put on your resume. I mean, if
How
Penn
many of
State
those are out there?
do they even? I don't even know if they have a podcast category.
I don't
Maybe
know.
they should. Maybe you'll
I
be
don't
the
think-
first.
Yeah,
They really should.
You know, and if Penn State wins again, then I have my eye out for the Center County Report.
Quite literally, like the Center County Report, we have beef. We really do.
So context, the Center County Report is Penn State's. They do like a show every like 3-4 days of like their own like recap or whatever, and they win every single year.
Yep.
Because they have
They
a
beat us
million.
out last year.
They have a million faculty work on the show, a nice studio, money, lots.
They
of
only
money.
have. They also
Right.
only have juniors and seniors be on their broadcast,
Right,
and we're
yeah,
very
right.
inclusive. We let everybody be on camera.
Yep.
And they also like they have the money to buy graphics and all.
Yeah.
Our graphics are all student made, so not to flex, but
Yeah,
like
I think
we
that's
kind of.
crazy that they don't learn.
Yeah.
I digress.
Yeah,
And
anyway.
on-camera people are
Yeah.
better. It's just like they have more like and like better production, not by the fact that they're better, but just by the fact that
They have more resources.
Just-
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
literally
Yeah.
it.
They got the green.
No,
Yeah, they got the green, we do
This
not.
is like a slight tangent, but it relates to that whole thing. I was at a radio conference in New York a few weeks ago, the IBS conference, which is what a great name.
What a hilarious name.
Intercollegiate Broadcasting Systems
I
Conference.
should've
what
been
it's
there.
called.
It's an IBS conference at my house
and
every
we
day.
were one of the panels there was Western Michigan University, which is where my grandpa went actually. Talking about their radio station and how they did this whole rebrand of everything. And it was kind of talking about the process of how they built that rebrand, what went into it. And at one point, one of the schools asked like a budget, and they were like, "Oh, well, we do rely on like alumni donations too, but our baseline is like 200, just about." $200,000 was
$200,000.
is their radio station.
Oh, alrighty.
Radio station
radio
too.
station.
Yeah,
Radio.
exactly. So it's like, if we just had the answer to everything is money. Just give away, just
Yeah.
get money,
Right.
and then all your problems. Like, what's that Eminem quote on David Letterman where he's like, "Money doesn't solve happiness. It doesn't get happiness. It gets crazy rich happiness."
Yeah.
So
Sure.
that's the quote I always
So
think
if you're
of.
listening to this podcast and you love UView, donate to our donate to
It
our
will
cause.
go to good use, I promise.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
right.
Go
promise.
to
Donate
making
some
sure Penn
money.
State doesn't win again, which
Yeah.
is the ultimate goal in life. Once I
That
do
money
that, I'm
realization
done.
is so hard. We all had that in New York too. Whenever
Yep.
we went and toured NBC and 30 Rock, and
Yep.
we were
That's
like,
cool.
yeah, it was so amazing. But we were like, wow, these people are so successful. But where do we get the money to be just that
Yeah,
successful?
yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right.
You know,
And actually, one of our classmates won an award
Yes,
at
yeah.
Wait, who?
Leah.
Leah
Oh, Leah
Revo.
did,
Yeah,
at that
won-
conference. Yeah, she won for best show promo. So
Yeah, that's
she put that
awesome,
together
too.
and beat out the Western Michigan, and they even like showed off their show promos at their panel. So LWMU,
Go Point Park.
Rocking down the Mon.
Point
It
Park.
is so good.
I
It
know.
is, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know when
this-
this will come out, but it's her senior year, so her last couple
Yeah.
of shows are.
This will come out next week.
Oh, so if
Pretty
you're
much-
listening before like April 26th, that Tuesday before like the commencement ceremony.
Yes, yeah.
That's our last show. Everyone tune in 1 to 3 p.m. on Tuesdays.
Yes, absolutely. Because this is one of my last episodes as a Point Park.
Oh my
We have one
God.
more. We have one more solo episode where I'll be sitting at that desk in front of the green.
I feel
screen
honored.
Planned.
I feel honored.
know.
But then but we'll be back to doing it. We'll do a couple over the summer, and then Gavin has one more semester, so we'll be back in here after that doing that.
Good.
Yeah, this is one of my last.
Wow.
I feel
End of an
touched.
era.
Sad.
It is. Yeah, we did. What is this episode 70? 77.
77.
Wow.
Dang.
Impressive.
Good for
Yeah.
you.
So we like
Good job.
in our heads I think we'd like maybe talked about at some point maybe getting to 100 while we were here, but at some point, 'cause that was really only 3 years too, because we started this sophomore.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah,
So-
true.
Yeah. It's just been like people. I mean, like this semester, we had 4 weeks in a row of people having to like reschedule on us.
Oh,
Really?
man.
Yeah.
It's
Oh.
been kind of crazy. So.
No, I feel you.
been one of
we
those
would have
years.
been a little higher up there, but still, yeah, it's been fun. Okay, guys, we're at about an hour here. I have some concluding questions that I like to ask all of our guests
Yeah,
time
before
flew.
we wrap.
Excited.
Yeah. So to start, this is a new one that I've been liking to ask people. What do you think is something that's underrated in our current society?
Ooh.
Underrated in our current society.
Yeah, what's
That's a
something
really
you
Like
think is
anything?
underrated? Yeah, anything it can be.
I mean,
Nuts, that's
I'll
so
give
good.
my major answer of I think broadcast news is underrated as a.
I would
which,
agree-
Look at this
second that.
nerd.
I second that. I second
like
that.
but like
Yeah.
in a very serious serious, not like that serious, but like in a genuine way. I mean, I think I watch broadcast news as a young person, and I think it's a very valuable resource for like how people consume information, how information is disseminated. Like, look at I talk about this in our class we have together. Like, look how many podcasts use broadcast news clips to supplement their show, to have like a topic first discussed on their show, and then they'll discuss about whatever that thing is, so that's an invaluable resource for them. And I just think it's what?
No, you made me laugh. Keep going.
Yeah, because I spit everywhere.
Yeah, that's why.
I wondered.
It was so graceful.
You could see the pixel. You could see the pixel fly beaming in the light.
So graceful.
But I do think it's like a very useful tool for people. And as much, of course, there's issues with like reliability with news and there's agendas in every single news source. Of course,
that I think is with media in general.
And exactly. And so, I don't think broadcast news should be your only source of news. Of course not. But it is a great place to, get your baseline. Here's what's happening in the world right now, especially local news.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
the fact that
Andy Conti was just in here.
No, exactly. Who is a big push of that. And I think local broadcast news is one of those really happy mediums for people's news consumption, where it's not as you're able. What?
Nothing. Addie's laughing
So-
now.
Sorry,
It's not me this
I'm gonna
time.
kick both these people out. They're too mean to me.
I'm sorry, I have the giggles.
But I think it's this happy medium where you can tune in and tune out to your own level, where you can slightly tune out and just listen like you would a podcast.
Yes.
You can tune in more and get those visuals to supplement. Do you want to you're crying? No, I see the tears.
Jules, keep making eye contact. Just keep talking.
Stop. Ignore us.
No, you're spitting bars.
Yeah, you really are. Yeah. It's crazy because before this I was gonna say bagels as my answer. No, I have so much to say for my. But no, finish and I need to respond to that.
I just ruined the fun and everything. That's kind of my job at UVU, pretty much.
No, but you're actually you're spitting for real right now.
Literally.
The point of the question is, it could be anything. It can be serious or it could be not.
And so,
But I second what you're saying.
Yeah,
truly,
for
I
real,
do.
yeah.
I
watch local news. It's very important.
Yes,
and I
that's
do
for
like
sure.
bagels more than donuts. I think I'm with you on that take.
Yeah.
A donut is my favorite dessert. I have a bagel for breakfast every morning.
I love.
Real.
My answer, what is underrated? A night in. Maybe I'm a
Yeah,
frickin'
you're so right.
lame
Yeah,
person.
honestly,
A night
proponent
in.
of that.
I was invited to a party and I said no because guess what I'm doing tonight? Rotting.
Literally,
Rotting.
I want to lay in my bed.
Emphasis of that, where I think early mornings are underrated.
Oh, I can get
Okay.
behind that. I
Okay.
get behind
I'm a
that.
morning person.
I wake up, no alarm, at 7:15 in the morning.
Yep.
And
That's crazy.
I feel
natural clock. In your
yeah, and I feel luxurious about
Yeah.
it. I feel
So nice.
Yeah, something
fresh,
about sitting in the kitchen in the morning and sipping your coffee as
Yes.
the sun
And
rises.
the
It's
broadcast news, CBS Sunday mornings. I grew up on that show.
Yeah.
Genuinely, it's so they have a little trumpet. It's so warm and refreshing. Everyone should watch
It
that
is.
show.
With the morning, with the rays coming in.
I love-
Oh my god! But it doesn't happen all the time in our great hellscape of Pittsburgh.
Yes.
But I do love
Yeah,
Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
not too often.
Okay, I have a real answer this time, not
Okay.
bagels.
The bagels is a good.
But listen,
bagels
bagels
is
are
real.
Oh, my
bagels
answer's
are
so
underrated.
real.
I love bagels, but this is pretty niche to me just because. I mean, not niche to me, but reading needs to come back.
I was
guys.
thinking
I'm
about
sorry.
reading.
Reading is so
Yeah.
fun, especially because
I agree.
recently I just read Sunrise on the Reaping, which is the newest Hunger Games book, and I've been obsessed with the Hunger
They're
Games
still making
since.
Hunger Games books.
Oh yeah, babe. Don't get me started. I
Yeah,
could do a whole podcast episode just about the Hunger Games by myself. But
Cartoon takeover.
yeah,
Take over the
yeah,
Not Just
yeah.
Politics
Literally, let me tell you about the Hunger Games.
Reading is important, though. We just actually saw something in our class that we have together, our media distribution class, where
Yeah.
we were looking at the stats of the popularity of different types of media among different
yeah.
age demographics.
Yep.
And young people are not reading.
No,
they're not.
and
It's obvious. It's very obvious. Reading
Yeah.
is so therapeutic. I was actually
great.
thinking about saying reading
Yeah.
for my answer. It is.
It's also it's how you develop critical thinking skills
No,
in the way to
exactly, yeah.
when you are presented with information to infer oh, this just happened. I wonder what this means, or I wonder what this character is thinking because they just did this thing. It just
Yeah,
makes
exactly.
you think more.
So
Yes.
it's giving night in and early morning eating a bagel, watching the news and reading.
Reading a
Yes,
book.
Yes.
that is the
100%.
dream.
That's a
the
much
dream.
healthier way to live than what
That's my dream life.
Than what I do, yeah.
Yeah, then, yeah.
Dream life right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
yeah.
like I have to work on like this is like spewing my own biases. I am like biased against like romance books and like readers or whatever.
Sure.
But even
Yeah, I don't
those,
prefer them.
like I'm personally like a nonfiction like history reader. That's my shtick.
That's me too. I
And
need to
I
read
love
more
a
fiction.
thriller.
Yeah,
I love
exactly.
thrillers.
And
I
it's
need to
like
read
I
more
need to
fiction.
remove this bias where it's like. Because like, my natural reaction is like, oh, you're reading that? Yeah. When like that's a stupid reaction. When like any reading is better than
Yeah.
no reading.
So true.
Scrolling on
literally.
TikTok.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So like if
Yep.
you
Right.
even if I am an asshole, keep on reading your romance books. Like my stepsister will literally like a stack this big in like a month. Like
Yeah.
it's truly insane.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah,
So slay reading.
Yeah, we have there's a couple friends of the show that have been on here a couple of times that just read books, like so many.
Yeah. I love reading.
I want to read more.
Oh no, what was
What do you
want
wanna
to
read? What's on? Do you have like a read
yes.
list?
This was
do.
something that I said, and I unfortunately didn't get to see it because I was stuck at my taco job. But something that I had said for the UVU senior, which again, thank you for letting me be part of that. For the UVU senior video, is I had said like read your mass media history.
Yes.
That's like something
Yes,
very
yeah.
important to media
Yeah.
practitioners
For
to do, 'cause
sure.
I've been starting to do that more. For a couple of class projects, and it is just something that like if you're gonna be in media, you should probably know why we're in the situation.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's not even in like a direct way, you know? Like
Sure.
it's not even like you need to know it. So, which I think that's like an issue with how like schools, I won't call out Point Park specifically, but like schools in general like teach history, like media history in a way where it's like you need to know it for this specific reason, where the knowledge of it itself is a good enough pursuit, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, just having that kind of knowledge base to just inform your decisions of like how you operate, you know, is all like, and it, you know, like it's better to have some history knowledge than zero history knowledge about that,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So Slay History got a minor in that.
It seems like the unfortunate reality of our business is that there are some bad actors that seem to have gotten positions of influence and
Yep.
that they would seek
Yeah.
to manipulate other people with certain narratives. And I just think if you know your mass media history, you're just more dangerous to those.
You know,
That's-
that
yes.
fucking
You're
happens.
harder
Yeah,
to manipulate.
that's like
Yep.
another thing. Like, this is maybe a controversial opinion to have, but like, I really think like having a degree in journalism and like actually learning, maybe not even the full way to a degree. I always think that if you're an actual journalist, you should have a degree, but just making sure that you know your history and you know the history of media and you know what
Yeah.
you're talking about, because at the end of the day, as a journalist, people are trusting you for information.
Yes.
They are trusting you to be
100%.
educated and informed about what's going on in the world. And also, as a journalist, you have a responsibility to record history.
Yep.
The only way that we
yes.
know about stuff is because
Okay.
of journalists. And
Yeah.
it's like you need to know the history, you
Yep.
need to know the exact practices, you need to know the actual tools to do this. So to the people on TikTok who sit under their desk or are the fish from SpongeBob that that give out news stories and you don't have a degree,
Literally.
please
Like,
go to
this is
school.
At least read the history.
At least
Yeah.
be
Read the
educated.
history.
Be
Yeah.
aware of who Nellie Bly is and what she
Exactly.
did. You know,
like there is not the name you should know.
understand-
The War of Worlds. Like you
Exactly.
should know this kind of stuff.
Yeah, that
and
kind of
even
stuff
like
should
building
be.
off like your journalism point, this is a big thing that like Carson, I'm about to shit on your industry. I'm sorry.
No, you're
This
allowed
is
to.
like-
I do all the time. I just kind of wrote a Substack I'm gonna publish where I did kind of like lay a lot of criticism.
Because
on
a
the
big
podcasting industry.
issue with like media consumption currently is that podcasters, whether intentional or not, they're not stopping it, have positioned themselves as journalists when
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
commentators. They're not
Exactly,
journalists.
yeah.
Yes.
And there is,
I would agree
both-
with you on that.
Both are important, you know. Well,
Yes, yeah.
Sure.
Like both have a place
But
in our media ecosystem.
journalism like being a journalist infers that you have had the level of training to
Yes.
call yourself this.
to actually know how to gather
Exactly.
information,
Yes.
you know, how to
in an ethical way.
in an
Yes.
ethical way, how
Unbiased.
to explain
Saying it in an ethical
information
way.
without removing your bias, like we were doing for the election
Exactly.
show earlier,
Exactly.
without inputting your opinion and
Being
commentating
confidential.
on
Yes.
information rather than just purely delivering the information
Exactly.
with added
Right.
context, which are
Yeah.
two different things.
Yeah.
There's a line between wanting to tell the story and wanting to be the person telling the story.
Yes,
Exactly.
100%.
Yes. Yeah.
That eats.
That is
Kind of a
Okay,
bar.
yeah, really, you kind of spit.
far. That and I would say, and we didn't really get into this today, but I would maybe say that that's That's maybe the biggest disagreement that you and I have.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm maybe with the two of you, as I have talked about it as much, but like maybe the biggest disagreement might have been like the difference between the role of like podcasters and journalists and that kind of stuff, and like what the two places those have in the media landscape. But I would agree with you, there are too many commentators pretending to be journalists.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I would agree with you on that. There are too many people that are miscalculated with their movements
And
in the world of podcasting.
yeah, and there is like I mean,
And I'm sure I'm guilty of that myself. I try not to be, but I'm sure I am guilty of that.
There's some part where the easiest answer is to blame the consumer. I mean, how many times have had
That's
people
my
just been
biggest
like,
problem that's
people be
happening
like,
right
the
now.
consumer is just stupid and dumb, and it's like, okay, at
It's
some
our
point,
responsibility for them
Exactly.
to trust us.
Exactly.
I wrote
yeah.
about
And
this. It's
it's-
like
Yeah.
the burden of responsibility is on us.
Yes,
exactly.
yeah.
Earn their
As
trust
practitioners.
Yeah,
Back.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
their responsibility to trust us more. We have to
Yeah.
earn it.
Exactly. I mean, that's the role of, I mean, to do that and to like earn, like, especially in like traditional broadcast media, which is like what we're all going into. I mean, that has to be like a huge shift in both how broadcasters create and distribute content
Yep.
and how how podcasters, I'll call it specifically, also present themselves as, we're important, we're commentators, but we're not journalists. This is all Rush Limbaugh's fault. That's who I'm going to call out. He's dead now, but I'm spitting on his grave.
Well,
Whoa.
Well,
Like, genuinely.
really, more or less, it's probably attributed to changing social norms and government
I mean, that's also
deregulation
true,
of broadcasting and that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. But you are right. Like the talk radio industry that was sort of brought about by and I'm doing a class project on this right now.
Yeah.
Like that, I'll have a Substack dropping about it. But it is like the deregulation of the broadcasting space and also the changing social norms did lead to the rise of talk radio, which then kind of did inspire podcasting. And I would agree with you for sure on that.
Yeah.
That like there are too many like podcast, like there are journalists who do podcasts.
Yeah, exactly. And
But podcasters are not. That's why I don't ever call myself like somebody called me a journalist once, and I was like, "Don't call me.
Do
that,
not
please."
call
I
me
was
that.
like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not.
exactly. Yeah.
I'm
God,
just a
I don't
guy-
even know if I would call myself a
I'm
journalist.
just a guy with a
Yeah.
microphone.
Yeah.
Right? I call myself a broadcaster.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
But
But
that's
that's-
also
that's
that's
what-
different.
Yeah, exactly. That's a totally different.
Yeah.
Different thing.
We could do a whole episode.
Yeah, I was gonna say we could go. We're gonna go way too off.
We may have to
but-
do another one of that.
Yeah.
I'm down to just talk about this whole topic if you
Yes.
ever want.
Yeah.
I actually would like to. We'll
Yeah,
have to have you guys
100%.
back. We'll talk about that. I have a couple other ones here.
Okay.
What is it? And we may have already talked about this, but I guess I'll give you guys a chance to include anything else. What is your favorite part of your job?
Ooh. I love working. Like I genuinely like there is a part of me that, and especially working in this like industry, like I feel very much like a sense of like I am creating this product that is valuable to people, and I love like the whole process of doing things, like I'm insane, and like I said, I enjoy working. I'm to some degree like work too much probably on this kind of stuff, but it makes me very like fulfilled, I guess is the best way to say it, to like create a product that is useful and good. I want to make a good product.
What he said, and then like building it from the ground up, and then another thing is kind of the aspect of wanting to be on camera. Kind of going off of the bar I dropped earlier, I love telling stories that people wouldn't know otherwise, and kind of
Yep.
having somebody's voice be heard that wouldn't be heard otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that idea when people perhaps are like, I never knew that was a thing, and now they do. And not even because it's coming from me, but because I got to share somebody's story. I love that.
Yeah. I agree with what both of you said, but through my college career, I've kind of ventured away from news, kind of. Like, I still obviously do it. I have a job at WTAE right now that I like, but I've kind of ventured away from that. But what I like about this career field is also that there's so much variety in it that even though I don't really want to do news anymore, I still can have a job where I'm working in broadcasting and I'm working on live productions. Like when we visited NBC and stuff like that, me and Jules and Grace and Elena, we all went to the Jimmy Fallon show, and it was probably the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life.
coolest thing I've ever
And the thought that I can do that with my degree, but I can also be on the news and produce news. I can also, work at the Oscars and and, you know, run the broadcast for that. Like, I just think I really appreciate the variety of it because I am not a person that wants to do the same thing every day for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I want
Part of why I'm
variety.
in the
That's another
industry as
thing.
a
Yeah.
whole, you know?
Yes.
Like,
Something
Yeah.
different every day.
Yes.
Even if you're the same role, you're telling a different story.
Exactly.
I love
Yeah.
it.
100%.
And I love the thrill of get it done,
Yes.
get it done. I love
live.
that.
Genuinely,
Live is-
I love live.
broadcast.
Yeah.
Like, it is stressful and scary.
But in such a good way.
But
So
it's
amazing.
so thrilling. Like,
Yeah.
because, again, it's one of those things where I don't want to be a cinema person. So even if, you know, with cinema, like I want to make a good product. That's like the end goal overall. With cinema, if I or someone else fucks up, well, then we have to go and restart and refilm it. If I fucking went broadcast, then I have an excuse to go, well, it's live. We just have to keep
Yeah,
going.
keep going.
Right.
Every day's a new day. Wait,
Yeah.
will you hold this real quick? I need to grab my chapstick. Pause. For
That's fine.
We all need to get some chapstick.
This one's deeper than the other ones. I haven't asked this
Give
one
it
in a
to me.
while, but I like to break this one out because I'm just curious what people are thinking. What do you guys think it means to be an American?
Ooh,
Oh, Lord.
that's a
Oh,
good question.
Damn.
I'll talk about because I think about this. I mean, I'm very I host Politismac on their show, so that
Yes, yeah.
politics is my jam. I personally, they might disagree with me. I like the identity of being an American personally, and
I do too.
I think I think there is very much like when I say I love America, there is very much a difference between. Like what I mean by that is I love the people within America. I can hate the government. I can be angry about its past, what it's done in the future, but just like the history of America and the atrocities that we have committed, you know, I can say we had slavery. We murdered millions of American Indians. You know, we did all these awful things, but I can still love America as it is, right? I can love the people that exist within it. You know, this is my liberal woke. Like, I was talking to my dad about this, about my liberal MAGA
Ethan.
take.
Yeah.
Like, I do love the diversity of America too. Like, genuinely,
Yeah.
I love
I
all
do,
the different
yeah.
people that exist within it. I
Yes.
love having an ecosystem that allows people who are not even like everything from different ideas, different cultures, different ethnicities, different genders, all this different type of stuff. I like that we can just facilitate an environment where that's cool and chill. You know, there's my liberal MAGA take.
Yeah.
Yeah, just very briefly, just to go off of that. Like, there's something that the CEO of Bridge USA says all the time, which I think is interesting. He's like, imagine if someone sat down and told you that the country that was the most diverse democracy that ever existed in the history of the human species was also the most heavily armed, and it wasn't the most violent country.
Yeah.
That's like breaking the mold that existed for pretty much all of the human story.
Yeah, and it's like that's not to say America's perfect.
No,
like,
of course
it's
not.
like
Certainly not.
Of
like
course
there's
not.
plenty of issues, and like you know,
And there will continue to be issues.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I don't think that takes away from, you know, I love people. People are great. I love talking to people. I love existing with people. That's why part of why I like being in the city. I get to be with people, and people are great. I love people.
I agree. I think, honestly, I really do think America's beautiful. It has, like, I'm talking even geography-wise. I think
that's also a
it's
huge
beautiful.
point.
Like, you're
Yeah.
telling
We
me
have the most beautiful country. In the
yes.
We
like,
have
would say that,
all
yeah, I
of the
would-
ecosystems.
we have everything.
I
and
would
it's
not shy away from that for a
yeah,
second.
it's incredible, and I really do love the diversity in the story. I think America's wonderful, but in this moment, I'm certainly not proud to be an American. But I'm
that's
also
fair.
like, but what else would I be? Type
Yeah.
B, you know
Yeah,
what I
that's
mean?
fair.
Like, I am American, and that's great. But I think I'm not proud because of the stigmas that currently are about it, because of where
Yeah.
we are as a country right now. But at the end of the day, I'm praying that it can be a little more normal, then, you know, I mean, it's home. I mean, dang,
Yeah.
it's
We don't
home.
have anything else. That's the
Yes,
interesting
that's
thing
the thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the one interesting point that like Andrew Schultz made. He was talking about Ilhan Omar, and he was like,
Oh yeah.
I don't like her because she dogs on America a little bit too much. And he was like, I don't think she realizes that like she has an identity outside of America
Yeah.
in a
We
way where
don't.
I do not.
Yeah,
Like,
we do
it's
not.
kinda
Yeah.
all I have. So like,
Yeah.
I'm always gonna root for this country because I
Yeah.
want it to do well.
Ditto. Like, I'm fully rooting for this country. I'm not rooting for the people who are currently in charge of it, but I
root for
root.
the country itself.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
root for the stability of it. And, like, to answer your question, what was the question originally?
Like, what do you think it means?
What
to
do you
be an
think?
American?
Yeah, I think it means to appreciate where we have come from, what we have, and what we can give to people.
Yeah.
And I really do think that it's very interesting that there are such different ideas going on in this country and that we can live amongst each other.
Yeah.
I wish that there was more harmony with our differing opinions right now. And I just wish, if I could give one thing to America right now, I wish that it was understanding.
Yeah.
Being in each other's shoes and living a day in somebody else's shoes for every single person. I would just love that.
Yeah.
But, you know.
I guess that is like almost a con of having such a huge diverse country in like geography is a part of that too, where it's like it's way more difficult for, you know, someone in Maine to understand what it's like to live in Arizona than it is for someone in like northern France know what it's like to live in southern France. You know, it's
Yeah.
like those are way more similar than like a Florida to a Washington.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree with everything you guys have said. I think that's part of the reason why I find it so hard to be proud to be an American right now, because America's roots are founded in our diversity. We are, you know, bring your poor, tired, huddled masses, and we have really lost touch of that. I feel like.
I think that's pretty inarguable.
We, like, you know, the diversity of the U.S. is what makes us such a special place. And I think that the current political state just really kind of uses the diversity as a weapon rather than using it to celebrate our country. Because I think that is...
And it is interesting that there's that old Ronald Reagan quote where he says, you know, anybody can go to Germany, but they cannot become a German. Anybody can go to Japan, but they cannot become Japanese. But any of those people could come here and they could become an American.
And that's
like, that we've not to bring my politics into it or anything. Not that I do that all the fucking time. It is just kind of discouraging, like as someone that has some more conservative views, that like that the Republican Party seems to have strayed so far away.
We're
from
almost
that.
punishing people for that. We're punishing people who are coming to the U.S. to become American, when we have to remember none of us would be here. Unless you are Native American, you were not in this country to begin with.
No.
We all traveled here.
Yeah.
Why are we trying to stop people from doing that?
Why is it such a bad thing that other people can become Americans?
That's what we built the foundation of this country on, is welcoming everyone, no matter what you've been through, where you've come from. You all can be an American, and you can all find that identity in being an American.
And I think that's the American dream.
I think so too.
I think the American dream is like rich, white.
It's not
Simple.
the white picket fence.
And,
you know.
And I guess just for me to now I'll be the bridge builder. Now I'm gonna go with it, but you know. I think that one of my problems is that the rejection of that is too oversimplified. I think the rejection of that goes a lot deeper than just people being like hateful or whatever. But True. But I would agree with you. Like it does seem discouraging right now that like that idea of like I have always, and you know, listen, Reagan did plenty of stuff that I disagree with, but I've always loved that idea of like the shining city on the hill. I've always loved that ideal that like anyone could come here and you could be a part of this country.
Yeah. I think a lot of it comes from fear mongering, because back before we had media that was so widespread, before media was so like deeply ingrained into our society, social media, or like broadcast media, all that stuff, we didn't have a big enough platform to spread fear the way that we do now.
That's true.
And
Absolutely.
because
Yeah,
you know, back whenever in the 1900s, whatever, 1800s, whenever there was like a lot of people coming into the US, yes, we knew what was going on in the world, yes, we knew everything, but we didn't have people who were actively telling us these people are bad, or you know, we did, but like not as
they didn't have the platform.
Exactly. It's not the same kind of platform that we have now. Like
was
there
newspapers.
Exactly. And it was like, you know, some random Joe who works in the newspaper who's saying like, I don't think we should let these people in. And now it's like, you know, our president, our Congress is everything.
You turn on the TV and it's telling you.
Exactly.
Like the random Joe now has a podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah.
Yeah, I
And he
think
has glasses and long hair and a stupid beard.
yeah. Yeah.
What a dweeb. All those guys.
Thank you guys for doing this. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
It was
Yeah,
so-
this was
I
awesome.
didn't think it was as fun as I thought.
Yeah, this was so awesome.
It was a lot of fun. We will have to come back because I did want to get into like media landscape stuff. And
Please.
Hey,
we
well,
didn't- we didn't
I'll
put
go
up-
on that all day.
I'll be
baby.
I'll be happy
Yeah.
to be back.
Mm-hmm.
So we will have you guys back, and yeah, just thanks for doing this. Thanks for doing what you guys are doing over at UView. It's really cool to
course.
see all this stuff you guys work on, and yeah, just thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
we'll see you guys later. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Slay.